Welcome everybody to Forza Horizon 4, and today we're taking a look at the 1996 Chevrolet Impala Supersport. Now the Impala name dates back all the way to 1958, when the first generation was released, and lasted until 1985, when the sixth generation ended. The name was eventually revived for the seventh generation in 1994, lasting until 1996, and this was in essence a high-performance version of the Caprice, which was in production from 1991 until 1996. And then the name again was revived in 1999 and is still used to this day. So this was essentially the Caprice 9C1 police package as its base, which includes sport-tuned suspension with reinforced shocks and springs, high-capacity reverse flow cooling system, disc brakes all round, a transmission cooler, dual exhaust and higher output electricity system. And on top of all that, it had a limited slip differential and suspension was 1 inch lower than usual. Visually, it had a body coloured trim, a unique single bar grille, a rear deck spoiler, and 17-inch aluminium brushed wheels. So visually improved over the standard Caprice, and with all of that stuff underneath, it meant it could make the most of what was a big change in terms of the Caprice overall. And it's a 5.7 litre LT1 Corvette V8, which has been detuned to make 260 horsepower and 330 pound-feet of torque. Now it's been detuned because this is obviously more of an everyday vehicle unlike a Corvette, and it's been detuned to produce low-end torque, which it has at 330 pound-feet of torque, and not high-end horsepower, which is a sensible kind of thing when you're dealing with a an everyday vehicle that is going to be used as a family car, because this is a really rather large vehicle. Now while things have improved underneath the car and in terms visually on the outside, inside wise it's still really rather a typical American 90s car. A lot of man-made materials, not fitted very well. As you can see, there's gaps everywhere, and the center console is really rather bland, to be honest. There's no real styling in here at all. It's all about convenience. Now sure, that's what a lot of people would like, but me personally, I like convenience mixed with styling, and there's not much in the way of styling here at all. But there is plenty of room, no doubt about that, especially in the rear, as you will see, and there's plenty of headroom as well, and it's quite a light and airy cabin as well, because it's not got all the safety things that we need nowadays, with the A pillar and the C pillar and the light having to be really rather thick. So plenty of light and air in there with those big glass windows, and it's got a decent sized boot as well, even with a full spare tyre in there. So very practical. But underneath, this car's been obviously radically changed, all to help deal with that engine that is under the hood. And to see just what it can do, we're gonna go out there and take it out onto the open road. So let's get out there. Now this car is a bit of a land yacht, to be honest, but I am immensely glad that it's on the game, because it was in my top 30 honourable mention list for cars I'd like to see return from Forza Motorsport 4, and even though it didn't quite make it into my top 10, which I did a video on ages ago, it's to make it into the top 40 out of all the hundreds of cars on that game. It does mean that I did really want it, and we finally got it. Of all the games, a game that is set in Britain of all things, but really glad it's in the game, because I have always enjoyed driving it, even way back in the Forza Motorsport 4 days, and this is the first time I've had this car on the game since that game. So immensely pleased that it is, because like I said, it was one of my top 40 cars to return from that game, and there's plenty of reasons for that. Firstly, I like the sound of the engine. Secondly, it's fairly decent in terms of performance, especially for a car that weighs 4,037 pounds. You can do 0 to 60 in 6.485 seconds, 0 to 117.9 seconds, and can do at least 140, though I have got it up to around 145 before. But the fourth gear on this engine, this car's automatic gearbox, which I'm not a fan of, to be honest, does limit the top speed, as it kind of feels like an overdrive more than anything. But it's still nonetheless a really rather fun car to drive, especially considering it weighs so much, and it's far more agile than you'd ever expect it to be. while also handling far better than you expect it to be, even if you did know about all the underneath changes that I have outlined. So yeah, cracking car overall. Do like the look of it. It's quite menacing in a lot of ways, and yeah, if you've ever seen any film set in the 90s, set in the mid 90s especially, that has anything to do with law enforcement, or even is set in like somewhere like New York, then you will have seen either a cab of this or a police version of this, and yeah, it was that popular, not just in terms of, you know, public use, but in terms of law enforcement and in terms of being a taxi as well. So yeah, there's going to be plenty of liveries out there of this car with police liveries or taxi liveries or anything like that. You can actually put a light bar on the top if you so wish. Now, a weird fact about this car is that the wheels that are on this vehicle were in such a short supply when this car launched in 1994 that they could only sell 6,303 of them. Luckily, that was remedied in 1995, where more than 21,000 were made, and in the final year, more than 41,000 were made, actually nearly 42,000, which does mean that this car, despite being a rarer version of a Caprice, it was quite popular at the time. Unfortunately, because Chevrolet were more interested in profits and making a sports saloon essentially to compete with Europe, they were more interested in profits, like I said, and they ended up wanting to have more assembly lines available to make the more profitable SUVs, which is a bit of a shame really, because yeah, with more engineering put into this and more thought put into this, it could have been a sports saloon to take on the European market, but unfortunately only had 3 short years and then it was gone. So yeah, big shame, but cracking vehicle, and yeah, it did show that in the 90s that America wasn't just making, you know, inept V8s in cars that didn't have any power at all, while having all of the weight in the world as well. So yeah, brilliant vehicle, and now we've finally got something to go up against the Ford Crown Victoria, which will also get a review of its own and was also used as a police car and obviously a taxi. So yeah, share a lot of common in that with that vehicle, and yeah, it will get a review of its own at some point. But yeah, love this car, and yeah, highly recommend getting it. It's only part of the festival playlist. You only have to get 50%, which isn't all that much when there's so much to do. But yeah, it's not going to be here all that long to get. So yeah, get out there and get it while you can. Nonetheless, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.